If you follow me on any of my social media platforms, you know this past week or the previous week over the weekend, I was blowing up my social media with every new volume that I read of Tamon's B-side. And of course, today is time for that review and to talk about all my thoughts with this series. Hello friends, happy Friday. So very excited that you're here. Really excited that we are going to be talking about today Tamon's B-side. Yes, I talked about, I know at Patreon channel members of how I was coming back to Tamon's B-side. Here's the video if you want to check it out. But yeah, I talked about how I was coming back to this series and here we are. Here we are. As you can see, well, I bought volume 1. I'm pretty sure I mentioned that somewhere in a public video. And then I checked out volumes 2 through 4 from my library. They did not have 6 and 7. Well, they didn't have volume 7 and volume 6 was like on order. And I mentioned in Monday's video when I did an unboxing of volume 6 and 7, since I'm an Out of County member, I cannot check out volume 6 for at least 6+ months. And this series is so addictive and so bingeable that I was like, I refuse to wait that long. And yes, and just in case if you're wondering, I will be buying volumes 2 through 4 for my personal collection. I'm very thankful that I decided to sell some manga before reading this series because monies that I make from whatever I could sell at the bookstore, then I'm going to be getting those volumes. And I just hope that they have them though. I really hope that they have them. But yes, before I go into a full-fledged ramble, let's talk about what this series is about. So this series is about an idol. His name is Tamon, but our female lead, our heroine way back here, who I'm going to be sharing her nickname, Uta, she is our protagonist here, and she is a huge fan of Tamon. Like, Tamon is her life. Like, her whole world revolves around him. And she's like, well, I need money to help invest in Tamon and get the merch that I want. So what am I gonna go do? I'm gonna go get a job. And so she gets a job at a housekeeping service. And they're like, oh, this new client needs somebody to come to his house and clean. And she sees the name and it sounds and it looks just like her idol's name. But she's like, no, surely that's not him. She gets to his house, and right at the door, she's thinking maybe it really is him, and she's trying to contain her fantasies of like meeting her favorite idol who changed her life, only for her to come inside and the Tamon who she thought or is her idol looks like this. He doesn't look like this. He looks like who has been labeled or deemed as Mr. Gloomyhara. And so it's her, hesitant to say her love story, but it is her story of working as a housekeeper for her favorite idol who has this other persona, this other personality that does not match with what he shows to the world, to his fans, as the idol that he is. Oh my goodness. This series was just, it was something else. As I said before, it is very bingeable. It is very addictive. There is no good stopping place. And I truly hope that I do this series justice because I have read volume 1 before. I read it back, I found out in 2023, and I gave it 4 stars. I did enjoy it, but I sort of got caught up in, like, I guess you would say negative hype from other people that I knew that were in my like sphere of friends. And I decided, well, I'm just not going to get the rest. And then shout out to my friend Kate. It was my video of like, if you had a certain amount of money and you could hang out with any of these characters on this board, I'll leave the link here. I did it during the 25 days of shoujo manga. She commented saying, I can't remember exactly what it was, but I know that she commented saying how she was sad that I sort of didn't give Tamon a chance. And she said it really nicely, like not in a mean way or anything. And she felt that Tamon would be a great boyfriend because I commented that based off this first volume, no, I didn't think he would. I even asked on my Discord server if anybody had read further in Tamon's B-side to answer the question, did they think Tamon was a good boyfriend? And nobody could give an answer because none of us had read past volume 1. So I told her at that time I would come back to this series and give it a second chance. Cue many months later, maybe it wasn't, or maybe, I don't know, maybe it was that December, or maybe it was a different one. I get a gift from my friend Lindsay, okay, and she actually made a Tamon-inspired fan that Uta has, which is so awesome. And I sort of felt like the seed started to grow row of coming back and giving the series a second chance. So shout out to both of these ladies who I have both tagged more than once saying, please take responsibility for me getting hooked on this series and me wanting to buy volumes for my personal collection that I know of. Both of them did. So I know Lindsay did, and I've been spamming Kate. Well, I wouldn't say spamming, but like I tag her as well with every update that I shared on Discord in our currently reading channel we have. And I'm like, oh Kate, I read another volume. Oh Kate, I read another volume. And I didn't know if Lindsay wanted to be tagged in every single story I updated on Instagram, but I thought of her every single time. So shout out to both of them for bringing me back to this series. Again, I really hope I do the series justice because I sort of feel I love the whole series. I think the weakest volume for me personally, even when I went back and reread, because yes, I started rereading again and like skimming through the volumes because after I finished reading this past Saturday, I was like, what do I do now? I have been so caught up in this series that I really didn't want to come back to reality. And so that Sunday, I was like, well, you know what? We need a refresher before we go and film. I'm just gonna start rereading the volumes again. And so coming back to it, I did feel that volume 3 was still like the weakest volume for me personally, and I'll say why in just a minute, but I sort of feel like this series is very interestingly done. If you read, I would say specifically probably the first 2 volumes, I think it's going to be a make or break for a variety of people, because when you meet Tamon, again, he has this idol side who is the wild and sexy one of this idol group, and everybody loves him. He doesn't seem like, when you meet his actual self, Mr. Gloomy-Hara, he's so opposite, like so different, and he's very berating on himself. He has no self-esteem. He's very sensitive to other people's moods and is quick to say, well, maybe I just shouldn't be here anymore and be non-existent. People will be better off without me. Or he'll be like, you know, I am trash and I am like below landfilled waste. Very, very negative. I think the series in the beginning does do a pretty good job of balancing the comedy with the gloomier side of things. And it's slightly triggering even when the first time I read it and then coming back the second time. When I came back the third time, it wasn't as much. I do feel like it can be very triggering because Tamon, or Mr. Gloomy-Hara, it's very hard seeing this young man who has this world prestige. He's famous. People love him. We see from Uta alone that she would give her lifespan, do anything for Tamon. Anything, okay? Like, Tamon is perfect in her eyes, and she holds him to the highest of regards. I've never seen a fan be as fangirl, hardcore fangirl as Uta. Like, she is at the top. And so Tamon is her world, literally. She throws her money at him. She doesn't throw herself at him when she meets him, except for one time. But I say all that because for him to be this world-class idol, or at least in Japan, and for him to berate himself so strongly and really just be like, there's a time where a noose comes out and he's like, should I go to that? It is upsetting because it's like, you bring so much happiness to this world. Why are you viewing yourself so poorly? And that continues into volume 2. We're still seeing that struggle. It's getting a little bit better because for every negative thing that Mr. Gloomy-Hara says, Uta is quick to correct him, and that he doesn't need to do it, that his fans love and adore him, that whatever it is about him is worth so incredibly much. Mr. Gloomy-Hara doesn't see it though, but Uta, even as Mr. Gloomy-Hara, she's like, you have value. Like one of my favorite quotes or favorite themes of this series is Uta says a line, or she's thinking it, Tamon is still Tamon. Whether he's Mr. Hara or if he is Mr. Gloomy-Hara, like he's still Tamon, and he still has value and he's still important. And the reason I say volume 3 I felt was sort of the weakest for me, because all of those feelings that Mr. Gloomy-Hara has been feeling, they really peak in this third volume. And I will give a spoiler here because I feel it is a trigger warning, because every time I have gone back through this volume, that one moment is still very triggering. So if you don't want to know what the trigger warning is or even have a remote spoiler here, just skip ahead. I will change the color of the screen in 1, 2, 3. What made this third volume so hard for this one specific moment, everything else was great, but that one moment is something has happened in the idol group and it is devastating to Mr. Gloomy-Hara / Tamon. And Uta's out walking her dog. She happens to look up at his apartment building and she sees his figure. She sees Mr. Gloomy-Hara. And it seems, for all purposes, or seems just in general, that he's going to jump off, that he's going to take his life. And it was like, oh my goodness. Now, I will say, and we'll go back to no spoilers here, so back to the video. I do feel like the creator handled it well. It just was hard seeing when Mr. Gloomyheart has these breakdowns and these spirals. They sometimes are legitly funny. And it was hard coming out of this moment that was really alarming to sort of almost have that little dash or little bit of humor that was like, no, this isn't the time, or it felt that way. But this volume was also like the turning point for me of when we see another side of Tamon where he's not just this depressing young man. We see the dark Gloomyheart, as Uta nicknamed him. And I was like, this is Tamon? Like, I messaged Lindsay and Kate and I was like, hello, am I viewing this right with my eyes here? Because I wasn't expecting this direction. But I want to come back to volume 1 after saying that all of that is, I never expected, and there was a friend that reached out on Instagram saying, for all the comedy that Tamon brings in the beginning and him having this other alter, so to speak, he's pretty relatable. It was sort of painful to realize that yes, Tamon brings this comedy. He's a really great character, whether he's Mr. Gloomyheart or whether he's Hara. I really, really like him as a character. But it was hard in the beginning to see parts of myself in him where, you go on stage or I come here and I film and I'm really happy. I'm really excited. This is me. But it's like sometimes off screen, and I've shared a little bit briefly, I feel like in the past weeks, I can't always be happy. And having that struggle of being one way sort of at home and another on film, it feels at odds with myself. And using a pen name from when I used to do writing and writing books, it feels even more like jolting for me that people don't see the real me, so to speak. And when that real me comes out, sort of similar to Mr. Gloomyheart here, though definitely not that extreme, it's hard. It's hard, but I love how Uta tells him time and time again. Like she said before, Tamon is Tamon. He's not a fake person because he's one way at home and then he's another way when he's on stage. His dreams that he has for his fans, for others around, is still the core of him. His dream as Mr. Gloomyheart. Like that's still him. It doesn't take away from his identity. It's part of his personality. And I was encouraged by that. And I think that it could seem like with Uta that she's just this fangirl, this extreme obsessive fangirl. And yes, she is very extreme. And I mean that in a good way though, because it's really funny to see her go all out. And even if I can't relate to a very high level as her, I still can relate to how, there's a celebrity or there's a fictional character in this sense in your life that you look up to, that you love, that changed your life for the better. And you would never want them to tear themselves down when they have just made your life so much better. And so when you're seeing this idol who's not acting like their persona on stage and this hardcore fangirl, it could seem like this fangirl is just in his life to make him better. Yes, but it's like, I want to say almost like codependency, that Tamon is depending on her to change his mindset, to change how he acts. It's not that though. I really feel like this is a series that I'm not going to say you got to give it 3 volumes, but I do feel that me binge reading this all the way was the best way for me to read it, because you really see Tamon's growth and that there's no unhealthy codependency. I mean, there's some dark moments, yes, with Mr. Gloomyheart that's like, should I be nervous for Uta at all here? I mean, he definitely cares for her, but those few moments where it's like, a little questionable there. But you can see though, her influence, the way she has helped him by just encouraging him and pouring words of encouragement to his life has really shaped him to think differently. And we see when he even has those gloomy moments of where he's degrading himself, he's like, oh, I'm sorry, I shouldn't do that. I sort of was off guard. And it has been amazing to see the growth in Tamon's life specifically, of how he has come to be this young man who's still Mr. Gloomyheart. He's still himself and has these mushrooms growing off of him, but he's looking at looking more at the people around him. Maybe he saw them before, like those in this idol group face, but he didn't have the courage to push past his fear and genuinely reach out to these other members. And none of them are like how they seem. All of them have a B-side, so to speak. And it was something else. I never knew what to expect with any of the characters, because despite the hype for this series and a lot of love for it, I didn't really know that many spoilers. And And that was a very wonderful thing and made it really, really fun to read. But I definitely feel like this is a series that you have to invest in the long haul. If you feel that there's triggering moments, obviously, and it's too much, stop reading. I would definitely say that. Your mental health is more important. But I can say at the same time, as somebody who does struggle with mental health and has had those spirals the same way that Tamon has, it was very beautiful to see how people around us, how we need community and how they can influence us in a positive way to fight back against those mental health spirals and not just floundering in them. And that, it's like, hey, not always the negative things we tell ourselves define who we are. And I thought that was a really, really powerful thing to see that woven throughout this series. But now that I've talked about Tamon, who, yes, I guess you would say is part of the, main cast, well, he is part of the main cast of characters, but he ain't our main girl here. I loved following Utage. She is a blast. Those first 2 volumes, when it comes to her specifically, are hilarious because of just how extreme she loves Tamon. And I feel like this series is very impressive because when you read the first 2 volumes, I think, yes, the whole series is funny, but I feel like it's just shaping up to be a comedy. Like that is what it feels on the surface. When it comes to Uta, as I said before, and said more than once, she's a fangirl. And so I really love her struggle that she has as the series goes on. Like you even see in at the end of volume 2, when her and Tamon go to a special place, she is struggling between her feelings for Mr. Gloomyhara that are leaning towards romantically feelings to I am just his fangirl. Like her keeping that line between them that she can't cross it no matter what her heart is feeling, she cannot cross it. But those boundaries, that line really gets hard for her to see and gets really hard not to cross it. And I thought it was, trying to think of what the right word is, it's a very touching reading experience because there's so much more heart than what I was expecting just from the humor in volume 1. I was woefully unprepared for that, and how Uta really puts a lot of thought and care into her relationship, like just as friends, into Tamon, into Mr. Gloomyhara. Like she may be a rabid fangirl, but she also is very strict upon herself. And I really, truly hope, like, man, when we see her struggles in volume 6 and 7 of like, when she asks herself, what am I without Tamon? That was really good. I feel like, honestly, my biggest takeaway from this volume specifically is that your passion that you have, whether that be for manga or a person or just a general hobby, it has value. I really love how her love for Tamon, which may have seemed completely purposeless and to other people, even her siblings give her a hard time. They don't understand how she's got this Tamon shrine, so to speak, how she made what was sort of like 1,000 cranes, but with Tamon's face. They don't get it. But it's that very passion that in this volume that led her to see what she wants to do basically with her life, why she loves what she does, like outside of Tamon, I mean. It was beautiful and powerful and encouraging, and I feel like there's been a personal takeaway for me in at least volumes 5 through 7 where I vividly was like, wow, like this is really powerfully written in a story that may come across really lighthearted, but I would have never known unless I kept going. So going back to Uta though, and the struggles that she has, very compellingly written. At the end of, I'm pretty sure it's at the end of volume 5, volume 6, I was panicking. I was like, where is this series gonna go? I was so glad I did that emergency Tamon order because goodness, every volume except for, and this had a cliffhanger, but it wasn't so extreme that I was like, okay, pure agony having to wait for volume 8. Yes, I have volume 8, volume 9 on my pre-order list officially now because I need to keep reading. Yeah, those things were fantastic and really good, but I do feel my favorite part, and even probably my favorite volume, is when we got to volume 4. When we start meeting the other characters in this group face, it is fantastic. I love that so much. I really love getting to see these guys show their real personalities, even if at times they were pretty crappy, it felt like, at least when you first meet them, because when we talk about Ori here, this guy here, oh my gosh, his first impression was like awful, and it took me almost to volume 7 before, or 2 volume 7 to really him rub off on me and actually like his character. But there is such a beautiful thing of seeing where Tamon, it has taken those early volumes for Tamon, again, to look outward and not only look outward and see his bandmates, but also to step in and just say, hey, are you okay? And try and be there for them in the best way that he can. Even if it doesn't feel that much, you can see the obvious changes in Tamon's life, in his way of thinking that have led him to just slowly be different. It is so satisfying. Again, very wonderful to read as a reader. But yeah, when the guys come in, the other ones, and this guy here, Kato, he is my favorite from Face. I love him. He is fantastic. Even when we first meet, like, the real side of him, it was wonderful. I love how actually Uta calls him out at one point, and it was fantastic because you can really see his heart. And there was something, I think it was in this volume, that was really great. When she calls him out saying, you know, you're actually basically like a good guy. And he's like, what? She's like, because I don't think you can sway hearts saying things you don't really mean. You have a lot of fans as an idol. Not only that, you have more irrationally passionate fans than anyone in the group. Tamon and Ori, neither of them fake the things they truly care about. That makes me think you might be the same way. You see, when you're a fangirl, your time and money melt away in seconds. We can't afford to finance anyone shallow. And I really think that is true for all of these guys. None of them are fake. I mean, they may have this different persona on stage, but they're still them. I mean, as Uta's saying, that there's things that they really mean, even though Kato comes across as very harsh, very rude, and just all about something. It could seem like he's not this great of a guy, but he really, really is. And so I really felt like this volume was the turning point for me, because from volume 4 onward, I gave all 5 stars. And I loved it. It's so easygoing to read as you meet these different guys, as you get to know the real them, even if it's so different than what you expect. Because Ori here, oh my goodness, like, he's so grumpy, he's so rude at times, he can be really mean, but he really does have a big heart. And getting a little glimpse of his backstory, I felt like was more eye-opening to how and why he acts the way that he does, even though he is not nice to Tamon. Like, pretty much almost at any given point, he is not treating him very respectfully. But the friendship that's slowly blooming between them, I caught myself being just like Uta and cheering Ori on, that I hope he gives his best and that he tries, because he does have these really sincere moments where I'm like, you know, despite your anger here, you're a pretty good guy. You're a pretty good guy. So I'm glad that he rubbed off on me and that I came to like him by the end of volume 7, because if I didn't, pretty sure I would have been sad. And it is interesting to see if I could sum up this series in 1 or in 2 panels, not just 1, in 2 panels, it would be this panel right here between Ori and Kato. They look like this, right? Like, they look fantastic. And then they look like this. Their real selves are coming out. And honestly, this was what this series is. This is what this series is. You see them act like this, but you see them like this at one time, and then you're seeing them like this for the rest of the time. It's like this really fun reading whiplash where you never know what you're gonna get. And that was part of Tamon's charm, honestly, especially when it sort of comes to the romance. It's very slow burn. We can see some feelings that these characters are feeling, but nothing's really come out per se. But you never know what Tamon's gonna do. Whether it's Tamon the Haughty Hara or as Tamon is Mr. Gloomy Hara, it is always a fun surprise, and I felt like the story was engaging for that reason. Even I would say with that panel I just showed with the other guys, you really never know what's gonna happen, because there's a scene in this volume with Ori and Uta, and I was just like, oh, that was so sweet of you. And you turn the page and he's just not sweet anymore. Like, you know, like Uta said, you could have continued to be really sweet there and really kind. He's like, no, that's too much effort. That's too much work. And it's like, okay. I do really like this volume here, or this cover here between Uta and Tamon. I will say, while I really love the focus on the other guys and getting to know the real them, learning things about them, it is really cool to see how this series never at one point loses its heart, in the sense that Uta is ultimately a fangirl, and she does all the fangirl things. When there is a volume, maybe it was this one, where they're asking for names for the fandom concerning Face, Uta and her friends take this job extremely seriously. How there was a whole chapter stemming around that. It was awesome. And even in a later point when she goes to see a certain movie, and just other smaller things where you never see that the creator has ever abandoned that this series ultimately is an idol manga and it centers around idol idols and fangirls doing these doing these activities to support their faves. I really love the series for that, and I'm glad that that has continued, and I'm pretty confident is going to continue. But this series really, again, just surprised me of the heart that it has, that it's not just a comedy series that makes you laugh, that you're really getting to know these characters and really coming to see that there's people who accept them just as they are. Uta's not going to go out there and blackmail them, try and sell photos of them, or tell people like the idol that you think you know isn't the idol that you actually know. Like, no, there's so much more of getting to really know these characters, and that was honestly the funnest part, is getting to know them and see what they will do. Maybe that sounds like a broken record since I already mentioned that, but I truly feel like this series has something special for that character growth, that it just took time, and I'm really glad that I read past volumes 1 and 2, that I could gradually start to see that growth in Tamon. And we're going to be meeting the last and final character of Face. We meet him at the end of volume 7, and I'm so intrigued, and I'm glad that volume 8 is coming out in July, even though it's like so far away, because I am ready to see what's gonna happen. Things came out and I'm like, no, like let everybody be okay. So would I recommend this series? Yes. I'm not gonna say, you know, do a try 3 or read 3 and then, you know, you'll know from there. No, but I do feel, again, that if you binge read the whole series, if you have all the volumes, it is the best way to go. It is a slow blooming growth of development in these characters, getting to know the real them, getting to see Uta grow as a fangirl and as an individual, just as herself. It was beautiful and wonderful. And if you just need a fun time and you really love a focus on friendships and relationships, this series is one I really think you should try, especially if you like idol culture, which was very interesting to see that there are people, real life people like Uta, because I thought I was sometimes extreme in my fangirlness, but I was like, I feel like I need to up my game, honestly. Yeah, if you've read this series, let me know. What did you think? Who is your favorite character? Because I would love to know. And if you haven't read this series, you know, are you a big idol fan? Do you like K-pop? Who are some of your favorite groups, favorite people? Let me know down below. And if you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe. And thank you so much for watching. Bye!